Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examination. So do visit AKS IAS Academy and also the website of AKS IAS Academy. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala and my credentials are: I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations and internal security along with the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session will certainly help you to crack prelims and mains examination, because throughout my session I would be emphasizing on two words, that is I would be emphasizing on the keywords and I would be emphasizing on the key phrases, which we will certainly make sure that by emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, we will identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which will be very useful for the preliminary examination. And by inculcating the keywords and the key phrases in your answers, that is in the mains examination answer writing practice, thereby your answers would certainly be precise and concise, which is being demanded by the UPSC, so that you can score higher marks in the mains examinations. So thereby my session, that is the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy, will certainly help you to crack prelims as well as mains examination, both for 2020 as well as 2021. And this session is in regards to the DNA, that is daily news analysis of today, that is 3rd October 2020. And first we will look at the quote of the day, and the quote of the day is: never give up. Never give up, because great things take time. So you are also in a mode of doing you are in a mode of doing a great thing. What you have actually put forth, your goal, is the greatest achievement it would be. So never give up, because the great things do take some time. Before I get into the next slide or the daily news analysis, I would say a very good morning to one and all who are in the live and also in the live chat. A warm welcome to Suvarna also, to AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis. And to start up with the DNA, the first news what we have today is intention to abet suicide. Intention to abet suicide cannot be assumed, it has to be evident. That means there has to be a solid proof. Who is saying this? The Supreme Court is talking about it. So we will look at what does that abet suicide means, and what is the intention, knowledge, and then why there has to be a solid proof. You cannot just assume on it. So we will look at what the Supreme Court has given a judgment. So the Supreme Court has given a judgment in regards to the intention to abet. What do you mean by abet? Abet means assisting, helping or aiding. Abet means assisting, helping or aiding. So if there is any intention to help, assist or aid suicide, that means an individual X is helping or assisting an individual, another person Y, in regards to committing suicide. That is X is helping Y to commit suicide. In this is a scenario. See, the Supreme Court says the intention to abet suicide cannot be assumed. So if there is any intention to help another person to commit suicide, that cannot be assumed. What the Supreme Court says, it says that it needs to be backed by solid and visible proof. So a solid and visible proof is necessary to make sure that X is found guilty to abet Y to commit suicide. So abet is assist, help or aid. So here the main intention what we need to look at is intention to abet is to assist, help and aid suicide of the another person. Is just, you cannot assume it. That means the police cannot just assume it and then make sure that the person is found guilty, but it has to be by solid and visible proof. This is what the Supreme Court had made its judgment, and this is by a 3-judge bench which is of N.V. Ramana, Suryakant and Rishikesh Roy. They state that the crime should be backed. That means if a crime, that is abetment to suicide has to be backed by state of mind. It has to be backed by a state of mind or mens rea or intention. So these are all the keywords which are the technical keywords in regards to the judiciary. So abetment to suicide, it is, if it is a crime, it should be backed by state of mind, mens rea in the sense knowledge or intention of the person. Until unless it cannot be assumed, or you cannot say that they are found to be guilty in regards to abetment to suicide. And the police have to establish, here the Supreme Court also have made it very clear what is the duty or the responsibility of the police. So they have to establish that an accused who wanted to abet the suicide, that means the one X who is wanting to abet suicide onto Y, that Y should commit suicide. So here in this case, the accused wanted, they have to establish, the accused, that he is involved in the suicide of Y. And if you look at this keyword abetment, this is very important keywords, because abetment is defined in section 107 of IPC. So which among the following section does define the word abetment? If you have a question in the prelims, this is in regards to the prelims UPSC perspective, that which among the following section of the Indian Penal Code defines the word abetment? It is section 107. Please do understand this. There could be a possibility of framing the question by the UPSC in different format. So which among the section does define in the Indian Penal Code the word abetment? It is section 107. And the ingredients consist of instigating a person. So abetting or instigating or helping or assisting or aiding a person, or to intentionally do so or not to do so, it all depends upon abetment. So abetment is defined in section 107. Similarly, when you talk about another keyword, that is abetment to suicide, this is another keyword. When you are talking about abetment is what? It is only in regards to the assisting, but here it is abetment to suicide is again under section 306 of IPC, and this involves definitely instigating or actively aiding a person to take his own life. That means X is actively aiding Y to take the life of Y by suicide methods. So this is very technical words which there could be a possibility of UPSC framing the question in the prelims point of view. So abetment and abetment of suicide are the keywords that you need to understand under which section it falls of the IPC. And the court also makes it very clear, the police cannot assume the intention. So assumptions by the police doesn't really work out. What really matters as per the Supreme Court is it wanted a solid evidence, that it has to have an evidence that an abettor, that is he has encouraged or assisted a person to commit suicide. So that is the judgment by the Supreme Court which has been ordered. And it also very clearly says that in order to prove a person who is mens rea, that is his intention or knowledge, it has to be based on the record, or it has to be based on the establishment or the show of the appellant. Appellant is the one, a person who applies to a higher court when a judgment is being given in a lower court, but he is not happy with the decision which is being delivered by the lower court. So in that scenario, the person approaches the higher court. In that case, you call that person as appellate. You have appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction in polity. So that is very important. You need to understand this, appellant and original. So appellant is in the lower court, the decision is given, but the person is not happy, so he approaches the higher court, the person. So in that case, this person, the appellant, had to be found guilty in mind that he has abetted the suicide of the person who has committed suicide or the one who has been killed or deceased. So in this case, Justice Roy, that is of the 3-judge bench, have authored the judgment, or they have pronounced the judgment that the ingredients of the mens rea, that is the knowledge or intention, cannot be assumed to be ostensibly in the sense that they cannot assume that yes, it is true that X person has abetted Y to commit suicide for his death case, but it has to be visible and conspicuous. That means it has to be visible, clear, and they have to have a solid proof that a person X has been involved in regards to the Y suicide. So why all this has come up? Why are we looking at this news? Because an appeal was filed by Gurucharan Singh. An appeal was filed by Gurucharan Singh, who was convicted by the courts, lower courts or the trial courts. He was convicted by the trial courts that he has been involved in abetting the suicide of his wife 22 years ago in Punjab. So the Gurucharan Singh, who has filed an appeal in the Supreme Court that he has been convicted by the trial court of abetting the suicide of his wife 22 years back in Punjab, and the trial court has found him guilty that he has pushed his wife to take her own life, and this was because there was hopes of happy relationship was dashed. That means there was no proper or good relationship in between both of them, and the person, that is Gurucharan Singh, has abetted the suicide of his wife willful neglect, by his willful neglect. So that in that condition the trial court has found him guilty, but the trial court has acquitted the same person, Gurucharan Singh, acquitted in the sense freed the man in regards to the dowry harassment charges. Look at it, the trial court has found guilty of Gurucharan Singh in abetting the suicide of his wife, but has acquitted, freed the same person, the man, on the dowry harassment cases. And the High Court agreed with the trial court, saying that death was a cause of circumstances and the atmosphere. That means when the trial court has given a judgment, Gurucharan has approached the High Court, while he has approached the High Court, even approach of High Court was saying that yes, death was a cause of the circumstances and the atmosphere. So thereby again he was forced to appeal to the Supreme Court, and in turn Supreme Court has given the judgment that just by assuming, the police assuming it cannot happen, or the system, judiciary system assuming it cannot, say that a person is involved in abetting the suicide, but instead there has to be a solid proof and evidence that the X person has committed or abetted suicide against Y. So that is why it is appellant, because from trial court from High Court, so he has gone to Supreme Court now. So that's why it is an appellant, not an original. So before I move to the next slide, I would say very good morning to Madhu, Manoj, Rama, Banu and Kiran. All of you are warm welcome to AKSIS Academy Daily News Analysis. So please do keep it in mind, this is in regards to the Supreme Court judgment, because since last couple of months we have seen almost every alternate day or every 3 days we will find a judgment by the Supreme Court or any of the high courts. Any of the high courts we've come across this. So it is very evident that you need to follow the Supreme Court verdicts. Why? Because it will be very, very useful for you all as a civil servant aspirants, that you will be thorough in regards to the polity. In regards to the polity, you will be thorough. Judiciary, and also in regards to various articles, you will be thorough, that maximum you will not miss any question in the preliminary examination. And Sandhya has also joined, Shanmukha has also joined. A warm welcome to both of you to AKSIS Academy. And we'll look at the next news, that is laws protected women and children. Who is saying this? Smriti Irani, Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani has said this, as she has pronounced that laws in India do protect women and children, and this statement has been made by Smriti Irani while she was addressing the United Nations General Assembly UNGA on October 2nd, 2020, wherein she was addressing the 25th anniversary of Beijing Declaration, and there was another instance, that is a platform for action, to highlight India's achievements in gender equality. So please do consider this entire key phrase itself, which could be useful for the mains examination when we are talking about women empowerment or gender equality. So there could be a possibility on the question, because Smriti Irani, that is Union Minister for Women and Child Development, has made a statement or addressed the United Nations General Assembly in regards to the India's achievement in gender equality. So there could be a probable question in the mains in regards to the women empowerment and gender equality. So what she has pronounced there, we will focus. Aruna has joined, Manoj has joined, Vinay has joined, Bhagavan has joined. All of you, a warm welcome to AKSIS Academy Daily News Analysis. And we will look at now what Smriti Irani has addressed at the UNGA's high level meeting and the theme of the United Nations General Assembly. Please do understand, this is again international relation, current affairs, dynamic part. So here, yesterday I was taking up a strategy and approach in regards to international relations. I was talking about strategy and approach. There I was talking about dynamic part, and then when I was talking about static and dynamic part, I did talk about static. I said that you need to look at or focus at the mandate, and then I said you need to focus at the structure, and the dynamic part is you need to focus at the theme of the multilateral organizations or UNO. So now the United Nations General Assembly's high level meeting and held, and the theme is, this is very important for preliminary examination. Please look at it, how you need to focus each and every minute word, which could be a very probable important keyword for prelims as well as mains examination. So the theme of the United Nations General Assembly is accelerating the realization of gender equality, and empowerment of all women and girls. So this is the theme of United Nations General Assembly of 2020 or 75th anniversary of United Nations General Assembly. Look at it, the theme. So this is again how you need to focus as IR from dynamic part, theme of it. So please do write this theme in your notebook or the paper you are carrying now. The theme of United Nations General Assembly is, I repeat once again, accelerating the realization of gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. So very important theme is very important. And Smriti Irani has spoke about the shift in India. So what kind of shift in India was she actually referring to? She was referring to the shift in India in regards to paradigm of women's development, paradigm or shift of women development to women led development. Again this key phrase could be a probable question in your mains examination. The paradigm of women's development to women's led development. The question could be very clear and very simple. It is talking about the empowerment of women and girls in the world, and India is making it very clear to the world nation or in the United General Assembly that there is certainly a shift in India in regards to the empowerment of women, from women's development to women led development. Please do understand, this is from women development to women-led development. So this is a key phrase what you need to focus, and in turn the phrase that is women's development to women-led development was the theme of the BJP's manifesto when they have gone ahead with 2019 election. And Smriti Irani has said that there are several legislations in India such as which are pertaining to sexual harassment of women at workplace, protection of women from domestic violence, protection of children from sexual offences, and our criminal laws, that is Indian criminal laws amendments, are all strong enablers of women empowerment and protection of children, especially girls. Why? Because the theme of UNGA is what? Accelerating the realization of gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. So when we are talking about, see here the two keywords in the theme is gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. So do focus the two keywords in the theme of UNGA 2020 is gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. So based on these two keywords, there could be a question in the mains. That is why Smriti Irani, the minister, also spoke about the shift from women's development to women-led development, and all the legislations wherein empowerment of women and girls, that is sexual harassment of women at workplace has come up, protection of women from domestic violence, protection of children from sexual offences, and various other criminal laws amendments are definitely a strong enablers, that is for the women empowerment and protection of the children. So do consider this a very crucial news analysis for mains and prelims perspective. Definitely there could be a question here. And Vinay Bhagwan has joined. Vinay, both of you, a warm welcome to AKSIS Academy. And we look at the another news, which is Armenia says it is ready to mediation. Yes, we have looked at this news day before, which is in regards to the Armenia and Azerbaijan. They are going ahead with the fighting because of a disputed territory, because of a disputed area between Azerbaijan and Armenia. I did show you the map. Where does this Azerbaijan and Armenia actually consist? It is Russia, you have Georgia, Turkey you have, and in midst of this you have Azerbaijan and Armenia. Azerbaijan again, it is coastal to Caspian Sea. Why I am saying all this is, again you need to again refresh, and that could be a possibility, as I was talking yesterday in regards to the special session on the strategy and approach to international relations, that the questions of IR can be asked in regards to the current affairs. Again, that current affairs could be geography map based. So that is why again I am trying to refresh you in regards to the map of Armenia and Azerbaijan. And now Azerbaijan forces have struck, or they have attacked the main city of Azerbaijan's breakaway of Nagorno-Karabakh region. So Azerbaijan forces have attacked the disputed area, that is disputed land, which is called as Nagorno-Karabakh, and in the Nagorno-Karabakh you have a main city that is called as Stepanakert. So this city has been attacked, and because this city has been attacked, there was many people who have been wounded, and this fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia has continued for the 6th day, which has started on September 27, 2020 on last Sunday. Until now it is continuing, and it is not just attacking the ghetto, that is the rural areas, but it is now targeting the main cities. Once it targets the main cities, that means many civilians would be succumbed to death because of the fighting between both the countries. So that is why this has to be, stopped, and this is in news that it should not be erupted in a full-blown out of war. And the two neighbors have definitely been locked in a simmering conflict, and this conflict is for almost going ahead between both of them since decades. since decades, and the one which we are experiencing now between Armenia and Azerbaijan is the heaviest fighting between both the countries in the last few decades. And because it is heaviest fighting between both of them in last few decades, many countries, or else Russian President Vladimir Putin, US President Donald Trump, and French President Emmanuel Macron has all been very concerned about the issue or the fighting between both the countries, and they have urged both the countries to return to negotiations. That means they wanted both the countries to halt or stop the fighting or the shelling or firing against each other, so that the soldiers, personnel are also been died, and also the civilians are being the victims of this. So they have to come to the table of negotiations in regards to resolving a long-standing dispute between them. So Russia, France, and US are urging both the countries, that is Armenia and Azerbaijan, to make sure that they stop the fighting and then come back to the table of negotiations. No doubt, Macron, that is Emmanuel Macron, of French president, has warned NATO member. So Turkey is NATO member, and this again is keyword, because which among the following is not a member of the NATO? If there is a possibility that the question or the option has the Turkey is one of the option, Turkey is definitely the NATO member recently. So Turkey is definitely backing Azerbaijan. We have looked at yesterday. And this you have in the Stepanakert, that is the main city of the disputed area, that is of Nagorno-Karabakh. You have a separatist government, and they say that the Azerbaijan forces have destroyed a bridge which was linking Armenia and Karabakh. So this bridge which was linking Armenia and Karabakh has been destroyed by the Azerbaijan, and now Armenia says that they are ready to engage. They are for the negotiations with Russia, France, and USA. But they wanted even Azerbaijan to go ahead with stopping the firing and then come back to the table of negotiation. Then they are ready to engage, and Armenia is now the co-chair of OSCE. This is again regional organizations or regional groupings. So what is OSCE? It is Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. You might be having a doubt why France is actually interfering, because as Armenia is the co-chair of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, that is why France is definitely in a mode to resolve the issue between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So you have Armenia here and then Azerbaijan, and as I said last time, Azerbaijan borders Russia, Azerbaijan borders even Georgia, and Azerbaijan borders here a little bit of this part, and then the mainland Iran, and then Armenia borders Turkey. And in the process almost 200 people have been died, in that 30 are civilians, and there is a sense of feeling that this might blow out in regards to a full war wherein Turkey and Russia might interfere if the war is blown out. That is why Russia, France, and US are trying to make sure that both the countries stop the shelling and then they come back to the negotiation table. And Pratham has also joined. A warm welcome to you, Pratham, to AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And we will look at another news which is in regards to the NCLAT. What is NCLAT? It is National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. NCLAT, this is again important in regards to the economy point of view. So what is that we will talk about? So this is in regards to the insolvency resolution process. So corporate insolvency resolution process. So if you are looking at this corporate insolvency resolution, again this is the keyword which you need to focus. The keyword is here corporate insolvency resolution, and then which is linked to the, again the another keyword is National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. So the NCLAT has said that once a resolution plan is approved by the lenders, that means it is saying that once a resolution plan, that means whenever a company which is defaulted and it is debt ridden, and then when the lender who has given to the, the one who has actually been a debt ridden and he is unable to repay to the lender, so in that situation the lender can initiate a resolution plan, and once this initiation is been approved, and once it is approved the resolution plan, then there would be a successful bidder who would come forward, and then the one who has come forward to go ahead with taking over the debt ridden company and then repaying back to the lender. In that scenario, the successful bidder cannot be permitted to withdraw. Please do understand here. Once the resolution plan has been initiated or approved by the lender against the debt ridden company, the one who is unable to make payment and who is a defaulter, in that situation, if there is an ex-successful bidder who has come forward in the resolution plan which is been approved by the lenders, in that scenario, now you have here lender, borrower, and the borrower when he is unable to pay it to the lender, fine, so the lender will initiate and resolution plan, and in the process you will have, or a successful bidder will come into existence, and this successful bidder who has come forward to make sure that he would take over or he will pay the entire amount of the borrower and then to the lender, and this successful bidder cannot withdraw its offer, so is offered to the lender, but in the due process the successful bidder cannot withdraw. That is what it is, cannot be permitted to withdraw, from the resolution plan, So here you have the borrower, you have the lender, and you have the bidder. Please do understand the keywords, only then you will get it very, to the point, you will understand this. And the 3-member National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has said that there is definitely a sanctity of the resolution process which has to be maintained, and when there is a sanctity of the resolution plan, and in the process of the resolution plan, withdrawal by a successful bidder certainly frustrates the entire exercise of corporate insolvency resolution process. And this corporate insolvency resolution process is definitely part of IBC. What is IBC? Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So as per the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code, a lender can initiate an insolvency resolution process against the borrower who is debt ridden, who is a defaulter, unable to repay back to the lender. Then the lender can initiate a resolution plan, that is as per the corporate insolvency resolution process under the provision of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And when it is initiated and a successful bidder comes forward, and this bidder cannot withdraw in the entire process, or there cannot be a chance of going ahead or taking an U-turn by the successful bidder. So that is what the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has made it very clear, because all or the entire resolution process is or does have a sanctity, and this provision is as per the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Please do understand, there are various keywords here, NCLAT, and you have the lenders, debt ridden borrowers, and then the bidders, and then corporate insolvency resolution process and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So if you can understand very keenly the keywords, you will never miss a question if it is asked based on the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal in regards to the corporate insolvency resolution process. And you have another news which talks about, again, the Supreme Court has come up with a judgment. So here in this case, the Supreme Court has held a judgment wherein it very clearly states that the length of a prison sentence, of an individual, or the gravity of the crime, the length of the prison sentence or the gravity of the crime cannot be the sole process for denying a convict premature release. So if a person has been sentenced to jail, he cannot, based on the prison sentence and the gravity of the crime, those two only cannot be the sole basis wherein the court or the lower court, trial court or a high court, that those courts start denying the premature release. Here the keyword here is premature release is the keyword. The premature release is the keyword. Please do understand. So the gravity of the crime, the prison sentence cannot be the sole basis for denying a person who has been convicted in particular case that he cannot be permitted a premature release from the jail, is what the Supreme Court has given a judgment. So this is in regards to the premature release of a convict. Premature release of a convict. And the 3-judge bench, that is, as I said in the first case also, N.V. Ramana, Suryakant and Hrishikesh Roy, the same bench which was talking about again what we have discussed in regards to the abatement of suicide, has actually again made a statement or pronounced a statement that the assessment of proclivity, what do you mean by proclivity? That is liking or inclination to commit a crime upon release must be based on antecedents, that is precursor, as well as the conduct of the prisoner. So here the Supreme Court is making it very clear, or the 3-judge bench is making it very clear, that the premature release cannot be denied because premature release should be assessed on the commit or the way he has committed a crime, and it should be based on the conduct of the prisoner in the jail while he is in the jail. Please do understand. So the premature release should be taken into consideration based on the commit of a crime, that is the assessment of the crime he has committed, he or she, and then also look at the conduct of the prisoner while he is in jail, but not only on his age, and that because the age of the convict could be a middle age, and once he is released he can be again part of the entire crime process. So there should not be any kind of apprehensions or fear of the victim and the witnesses. That is what the 3-judge makes it very clear, and this is now crucial. Please do understand this entire statement, which will be very, very useful. And here the judgment or the justice, that is Suryakant has said, society is a place. Again, this is in regards to the, you can link it with judiciary with society, social issues or society. What he has said is, that is Justice Suryakant has said, society has a right to lead a peaceful and fearless life. Please do understand. Society is like you, me and everyone in the society. They have the right. Please do understand. This is a new a point which has been made, wherein most of them are not really aware of it. Society has the right to lead a peaceful and fearless life without free roaming criminals. That means the criminals should not be freely roaming in the society wherein they would be creating havoc to the lives of the ordinary peace-loving citizens. This is what is being mentioned in the society. So, in the society, the peace-loving citizens or ordinary citizens have the right to lead a peaceful and fearless life from or against the criminals who create havoc to the peace-loving citizens. But you have another thing, equally strong, but there is equally strong. What is that? Equally strong is the foundation of reformative theory. This is a key phrase. So reformative theory is the key word what you need to focus, which would be certainly very useful for you all in regards to the mains examination. This keyword, that is reformative theory in judiciaries or judgment, Supreme Court's verdict. The foundation of reformative theory, which propounds or says that a civilized society cannot be achieved. Please understand, here we are talking about society, which will be very useful. Not only society, we are talking about civilized society. So a civilized society cannot be achieved only through punitive attitudes and vindictiveness. What do you mean by punitive? That is harsh and severe attitude or actions, and vindictiveness. You cannot expect a civilized society. Please do understand. First is what? A society has the right to lead a peaceful and fearless life. But the other side of it is, you have a theory called as reformative theory. And what does this foundation or the reformative theory propounds? That a civilized society can be achieved not through punitive attitudes and vindictiveness. So here, society, civilized society, reformative theory are the one which you need to focus. And reformative theory we have looked at. Now we will look at the another keyword, that is reformative justice. So when you have a theory, there has to be a justice. So reformative justice, as per the court, it says that the justice or reformative justice just should not merely focus on public harmony, that is focusing along with the public harmony. The court says that, or the reformative theory also focuses on the fostering the brotherhood and mutual acceptability qualities. So brotherhood and then mutual acceptability are the two keywords which you need to focus here. So it is not only in regards to the public harmony or in regards to the right of life of the ordinary citizens or fearless and peaceful life, but at the same time civilized society should focus on public harmony as well as fostering, that is encouraging brotherhood and mutual acceptability. Look at it, mutual. It is saying mutual, that is both together. So you will have a normal or ordinary citizen, or else a person who has been committed crime, but the person, because of the crime which was committed, not because he was really having that kind of attitude or he is into that mode, but in a spur of moment he has committed the crime, and then later on there is definitely the conduct of the person or the convicted person is very good while he is serving the jail term. And the court also observed that first time offenders should be given a second chance. Look at it, because the first time offenders ought to be liberally accorded a chance to repent. So you should give a chance to repent the first time offenders about their past and look forward for a bright future. So this is reformative theory, and the judgment came in a plea. So why did the Supreme Court come up with this judgment? Because there was a plea made by two prisoners who have incarcerated incarcerated in the sense who have been imprisoned for a kidnapping for ransom. So they were involved in kidnapping for a higher amount. They are kidnapped in Uttar Pradesh. So these two prisoners have filed a petition, or they have pleaded the Supreme Court, and these two people are in early middle age, and as they are in the middle age and they have committed and they are the first time offenders, so as their record is also of good conduct in the jail, so the court says that you should look at both and give them a chance to be released, and the court has ordering their release. Look at it, the Supreme Court has ordered their release, said by saying that action of kidnapping was nothing but a fanciful attempt to procure easy money from which they have learnt a painful life lesson in the jail. So basically, because of their good conduct in the jail, they have been given a chance, and the Supreme Court has ordered the release of the two prisoners from Uttar Pradesh. And Anil has also joined. V. Anil. So, warm welcome to you also, Anil, to AKSIS Academy. So, do focus on the Supreme Court verdicts. So, we have focused today two of them, the Supreme Court verdicts, in regards to abetment of suicide and in regards to the conduct of the prisoner in the jail. And the main important thing is premature release. This is a keyword. Premature release not only depends upon the commit of a crime, but should also be based on the conduct of the prisoner. So definitely now we will recapitulate the AKSIS Academy Daily News Analysis, and this is in regards to the polity point of view, which you can really focus for preliminary examination. And loss, this is again in regards to the IR which I was talking about. IR focusing in regards to the dynamic part. So when I was talking about dynamic part, should do focus on the theme of UNGA General Assembly address. Fine. And here in regards to the IR again, so focus in regards to geography map based, which will be very important for current affairs for preliminary examination point of view. And this in regards to the NCLAT, wherein we have discussed in pertaining to economy for prelims examination and a better conceptual understanding for mains point of view. And then good conduct is key to early release. Again, this is in regards to the Supreme Court verdicts, which is again pertaining to polity for preliminary examination. Okay, Pratham says, sir, please start detailed editorial analysis. Okay. Probably AKS will also come up with this editorial analysis. So certainly I will be part of it then. So I hope this session, that is the daily news analysis at AKSIS Academy by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, was informative, knowledgeable and useful for prelims as well as mains for UPSC perspective. So I would say a very big thank you and then a good luck to you all. And then before you sign off, do like the video, share the video and subscribe the video, and also visit the website of AKSIS Academy and also subscribe the a telegram link of AKSIS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then I would come up with the daily news analysis again at 7:30 AM on Monday. And I would say do focus in regards to the maintaining consistency, and then stick to your schedule, and then do follow or do take care of your physical health and mental health. And then See you again on Monday at 7:30 a.m. for the daily news analysis at AKSIS Academy. Thank you very much.